What's up, everyone? I have a beautiful day happening right now, and I'm just out. I'm in the area, agricultural area, and it's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. So I want to talk about Dr. Sebi and his legacy, and this is basically my tribute to him. I want to keep his legacy alive, do my small part to keep his legacy alive, and by talking about him, talking about some of his great accomplishments, and not only talk about, you know, the main, like a lot of the way a lot of people view him is that he taught us how to eat, but he taught us so much more than that. He taught us a far deeper message than that, and it was more of a spiritual message. And I want to go into that and give my thoughts on that, because I think that that's far more important to his legacy than just him teaching us how to eat. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about Dr. Sebi, and at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you his list of approved foods. The majority of them are alkaline, and they're non-hybrid, and they can survive in nature on their own. And I'll talk a little bit more about why that's important. And you know, if you know who Dr. Sebi is, you probably don't need this list, but I'll include it anyway at the end of the video, just because. And before I talk about Dr. Sebi, I'm gonna talk about another one of my mentors, Dr. Jack Kruse. And I'm gonna talk about him first because the legacy that he's leaving, he's still alive, the legacy that he's leaving, it connects hand in hand with Dr. Sebi's legacy. And he's kind of anti-food. He doesn't really talk about food, but his philosophy goes hand in hand with diet, because his philosophy is more about the context of our environments and how our environments affect how we metabolize food and how we stay healthy. But they go hand in hand. I don't think one is more important than the other, but environment, I think you could look at it this way, if you want to think about it in like which one's more important than the other. If you take away one and see how long you last in the other, you know, environment wins. So environment's really important. So let's talk about this. Now, Dr. Jack Kruse. Dr. Jack Kruse's philosophy, and I'll just kind of sum it up as quickly as I can before I get into the Dr. Sebi. Dr. Jack Kruse's philosophy is basically that your environment controls how you are able to metabolize your diet and how well you stay. Your environment is constantly sending information to your body. Your body's constantly responding and answering to your environment. And if you're for example, if you're at the poles, and of course it's very cold at the poles, and you know, whether you're native to there or not, if you're native to there, you will be able to deal with that place better because you're native. And I'll talk about the reason why in a moment. It's about mitochondria. If you're there, you can't eat the same diet as someone that lives in, let's say, a tropical area, because the food that grows there, or the food that exists there, is different from the food that exists on the equator. And you know, in that area, that part of the world, there's weak sun, relatively weak sun, and there's strong magnetism. So in that area, your diet would be more focused on making you more magnetic to handle the sun, and also to survive extreme cold weather. you know, survival. Survival is a big part there, you know, as with equator also. Equator is all about survival too. On the equator, you know, evolutionarily speaking, you need to be able to get away from stuff and survive that way. And you need quick. You have an abundance of energy from the sun, and the magnetism's weak. So the food there is lower energy and also more colorful in order to help you capture more of the sun. You know, we operate on more than just the sun. You know, we have the sun side, we have the magnetism side. You know, there's two sides of it, but we focus on the electric side mostly. And another part of Dr. Jack Kruse's philosophy, and you know, of course I'm paraphrasing, really great mind that I'm trying to paraphrase, so forgive me if I'm not getting this exactly on point like it should be. But another part of his philosophy is mitochondria. He focuses on the mitochondria of people that are different depending on where you are on Earth. And I'll go back to the analogy of the poles. At the poles, you need to be able to make lots of heat. So your mitochondria will be designed to create lots of heat. And mitochondria do different things. They all, not only do they make heat, they also make energy. They also take energy and transform the energy into other energy. But for that particular area, in order to survive, you need to be able to make lots of heat. That's one of the biggest things in that area. And on the equator, you need to be able to take and make very quick energy, you know, and think about survival in terms of getting away from things. So, you know, mitochondria, you know, the mitochondria that you have are also affect how you metabolize your diet. So that speaks on genetics as well, because genetics will be based on your geographical location, your lineage. And another part of his philosophy, and I'll wrap it up by talking about this part, and this is the part that I love so much, because this is really hard to figure out, but it's right under our noses, but it's very hard to figure out. And that's basically the artificial energy fields that man has created, and basically for our technology. And by us being in these artificial energy fields, it changes the type of diet that we should eat to stay optimally healthy. And this is really hard to see, it's really hard to understand. That's why a lot of people like to just act like it doesn't exist and ignore it. But just because you ignore it doesn't make it go away. And what he showed me was that the artificial environment is altering our bodies in such a way, is distorting the message that we get from our natural environment, and it's also distorting the message that we get from the food that we eat. So what I guess the main take home that I learned from him in regards to this is that you need to really know what type of environment you're in. When you're in a natural environment, it's easy to know, because you know you interacting with nature and you don't have to think about it really. Nature takes its course. But when you have an artificial environment, then a lot of thinking has to come in. You need to understand what type of artificial mechanisms are in place and how they interact with your body, and what type of diet that you should eat to best suit your body for this type of environment. And in a lot of cases, you just can't eat away those problems. You just have to eliminate those problems as best you can. So that's Dr. Jack Kruse. You know, context thing is real important. And I've seen a lot of his stuff and learned a lot from him. And he likes to say that food's just not important. In the bigger scheme of things, food's just not important. But I think it's a lot more important than he says it is, or the way he puts his message out. Or maybe I'm not understanding his message as best as it is intended. So let's talk about Dr. Sebi. Now, Dr. Sebi's philosophy, he addresses our genetic differences and he doesn't go too deep on this part. He addresses it, but he doesn't go too deep into it. And he says that the diet of, let's say, a person that's native to the Arctic, I don't know the proper name that politically correctly call them, those people, the Asian people, African people, white people, red people, people of different geographical genetics, they should have a certain diet for them. Everyone should have a diet specifically for them. And another part of his philosophy is that 10,000 years ago, our food supply got compromised. And 10,000 years ago is a very long time. So we're very lost on what we should eat and what we shouldn't eat, because 10,000 years of the food being altered, I'm talking about genetic modification. And the reason why 10,000 years ago is because of the agricultural revolution. During the agricultural revolution, that's when everyone stayed in one place. People stopped moving about, going from place to place, and eating as they go. In order to stabilize civilizations, farming became really big, and in order to farming was the beginning of fast food. I'm just gonna call it fast food. And even everything that we eat, you go to the grocery store and you buy your tomatoes and your apples and all of this stuff. That's fast food, because it's made out of convenience. It's not made out of the survival of the fittest, the way nature intends it to be. It's made through convenience. And the type of convenience that I'm talking about is things like you want something sweeter, so you genetically modify, you breed it together to make it sweeter, and you're distorting the information that God, Mother Nature, intends for us by those genetic alterations. And you might want it bigger, so you also genetically modify. And you want to make it pest resistant, so you start protecting it and babying it, and over 10,000 of years your food becomes just totally unrecognizable. And of course the message is totally unrecognizable. And when we eat, it's basically a message exchange from our food to our body, to teach our body how to interact with our environments. And if the message is altered too much, then the food becomes a poison to us. So what Dr. Sebi did was he studied, he traveled, and he learned foods that hadn't changed much over those 10,000 years, that still had the message intact. And the way he puts it is the way, not getting in the way of God, eating the foods that God intended, God foods, the way his words of putting it. And another part of his philosophy is that alkalinity is a way to know if foods are intended for us. It's a quick way to know, even though all non-hybrid foods, not all of them are alkaline. Some are a little bit acidic. But in general, alkalinity is the way to go, based on his philosophy. Unlike Dr. Jack Kruse, he doesn't acknowledge the environment that much. He implies it, but he doesn't directly acknowledge it. But it's still on track with the message. I think it's still pretty clear. I don't think he that went under his radar. But really incredible message. And I've been experimenting and playing with a lot of his diet lately. I learned about it long ago, but I didn't really understand him as well as I do now. And I'm taking my understanding and I'm playing with a lot of things. and learning a lot about it. And it's really got me thinking about the possibility of veganism, which I'm flirting with the idea now, but I won't do it until I have all of the correct information. I know how to do it, and I understand it, and I can remain healthy. But I do believe that you know, the vegan diet or the vegetarian diet is ultimately the purest and the best thing to do in the bigger scheme of things, in the bigger picture. So I'm working on that. And and I guess I'll wrap this up with this. Another part of Dr. Sebi's philosophy is using herbs and using the earth to heal. We've completely gotten away from all of that, and we're going to, again, I'll call it fast food, you know, the quick fix, wanting to heal things and fix things really quickly, you know. So, you know, it has made us really lazy to the point where, like we just, you know, go take a pill and to cure ourselves, and, you know, never mind the long-term consequences that happen from, you know, just going to a pill versus, you know, Mother Nature, you know, herbal remedies. And also with the herbal remedies, a lot of it is, you know, more about maintaining a strong, healthy body and making the weak parts strong so that you never ever get sick in the first place, and so that you continually get stronger as you progress through your life. So, you know, I guess I'll wrap it up there with my tribute to Dr. Sebi. I hope you took something from this video. I just want to just, you know, bring awareness to this great man, Dr. Sebi. And yeah, so now I'll leave you with a list of Dr. Sebi's, most of them are alkaline, and the list of his non-hybrid foods, non-genetically modified foods. So here you go. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. I love you. I love you. Thank you for watching my video. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. Get out there. Enjoy the sun. Absorb the sun. You know, be natural. Study. Learn as much as you can. Love life. Y'all take it easy. I'm gone.